So my personal journey with cacao. Well, I was invited to a cacao ceremony in September, and I kind of laughed at the idea because I thought, really, chocolate? Yeah, okay, what am I going to get from a ceremony with chocolate? And I really did laugh at it. I thought it would be a silly idea, and I didn't want to waste my money. I thought, £100, I'm not going to do that. But I started to read the reviews of people who'd actually gone and done it, and I was particularly taken by Helen Rebello's review, and she's a colleague of mine who's lovely. Hey, Helen. And she talked about the fact that the cacao helps you to connect with your passions. And because I was going through a real crossroads in my life where I knew a lot of things were going to be changing, I was a little bit lost on my way with my work. Although I was really passionate about what it was about, I was a bit dispassionate with the work that I was having to do to make it work. Also, I was faced with the fact that I knew a long-term relationship I was in really needed to end. In my personal life with my daughter, she was going to be moving with her dad, or she had already moved with her dad, and I was going to be moving. Basically facing all my biggest fears all in one go and really not having any answers. So I wanted to connect with a direction that would be beneficial for me to go towards, or to allow towards me, let's say. So I decided to go and do the cacao ceremony. And also I've had quite a few spiritual teachers, so I've dallied in lots of different things, from being involved with someone who thought he was Jesus, and he may well be Jesus, but he definitely, his way of teaching didn't really work for me, and definitely didn't support me to clear stuff that I needed to clear. I've also been involved with other more traditional, let's say, South American pursuits. So whether you're working with different cactuses, or you're looking at some people get into hallucinogenic stuff as a way of actually journeying spiritually, and for me that was always very scary. I didn't like the idea of really being out of control, and actually there was a fear that I might lose a part of my soul in the process, so I've not been entirely comfortable to let go, or found the people that I thought would really keep me safe. So I looked into Keith's work, Keith being the cacao shaman, the real Willy Wonka, and I just really liked his vibe, so I thought I'd give it a go. And I did, and it blew me away. It was just amazing. I mean, one of the things that Keith talks about is the fact that when you actually run a ceremony, and I have run a couple, I call them ceremonies actually these days, because it's not me facilitating in the way Keith does. I'm kind of holding space and we all work together. But he has this uncanny ability to be able to sort of work with each person in the group on the level that they're at, if they want to work. But he's not going to push you, and if you don't want to reveal anything, or you don't want to work with anything, he's not going to go there. But if you're open and you're receptive and you're willing, what he talks about is that half the people in the room, once you've done the go to glow meditation, will go into a beautiful bliss state, and they'll just stay there, and they're basically holding the energy for everyone else. Whereas the other half, and I was one of them, kind of intermitted between bliss and then like really feeling some deep emotions, like feeling the space to cry, to release, asking questions and getting immediate answers. So it was like being able to really connect with my own inner knowing, like the true voice of intuition that was not coloured by the voice of fear. So what came out of this first session was even Rosy Glow, which has been my new endeavour, and this is this journey of moving from fear-based living to love-based living. And you know, I come from a very fearful background. You know, I was infused with fear from like before I was even conceived. So fear is my first place to go. My daughter always gets invites me. She's like, "Oh, you always look at the worst possible thing." And I run a business called Enjoy, right? There is this tendency to sort of drop into worst possible case scenario, fight, flight, freeze. And my journey throughout my life from the age of 13 has been to overcome that and to actually come into a space of trust and love, to look for the good, to see the good, to focus on compassion, all the stuff that we know. But it's been a daily journey. So along comes this amazing chocolate, you know, something I thought was a poison in my life becomes a medicine suddenly, which again was incredibly liberating because, you know, I am someone who beats myself up with all the things that I feel I'm doing wrong. and I'm not doing right, and I'm not perfect enough, and so I can't possibly be a teacher in this or that. And I know I'm speaking for many, many people who do the same sort of work as me. So, you know, take pride out of it. Take some kind of, I must have a veneer about me, and you rip that away and you say, actually, this is my truth. And to be able to stand in it is what the cacao helped me to do. So I cried a lot. I laughed a lot. I got a lot of insight. I wrote a lot of stuff down. I got a very clear idea of this new journey that was really the culmination of 11 years of running Enjoy Yoga and what that was about and this holistic community. But now, if I take myself out of it, it was like, well, actually, what is it I'm really good at? I'm really good at supporting people through their blocks. I'm really good at supporting people through what they fear. Because I know what it's like to fear. You know, I was terrified of giving birth. I was terrified of death. I've lost my mum. There's been all sorts of things in my life that I've had to face my demons, and I've chosen to. But I'm not perfect, and the cacao has allowed me to accept my imperfections, because definitely in the past I would have been beating myself up with them. So this daily journey started. You know, I do the cacao ceremony, have a wonderful time, buy 2 blocks of the stuff, you know, 2 pounds of the stuff, and start working with it on a daily basis. And, you know, it was almost like I'd have this amazing time while I was actually drinking the cacao, and then the next day you'd almost feel like this deep, something would come up, and I'd feel a lot more of an emotion that maybe I wasn't aware I had. And, you know, when I look into what the raw foodies say about, you know, raw cacao, and some are really against it. The paleo diet people are really against any stimulants, and, you know, talk about the fact that it's really addictive and it's worse than sort of a combination of heroin and amphetamines and caffeine and something else all rolled into one. And I'll go, all right then, well, okay, that might be true, but what do most people do every day? They eat sugar, they eat dairy, they drink caffeine, they drink Lucozade, they full of yeast. You know, we are in stimulant overdrive. And if we've got an opportunity to shift to something that is actually much more nutritious while we get over the other stuff, to the point that then this one particular thing helps us to deal with the reasons why we start trying to block things all the time, then what a wonderful food for the shift, literally. You know, I don't want to feel like I'm dependent on cacao, you know, and I'm not. If I don't have it, I don't have it. But what I value is the fact that it's a tool to work with every day, to whatever level. Some days I don't have it at all. But I've cried a lot. I felt a lot of anger. I felt a lot of disappointment. I felt a lot of rage. I felt a lot of emotions, blame and shame particularly. There's a lot of shame in my family. But resentment, you know, things that I kind of knew on a cognitive level, but I didn't know were really in me and were actually influencing my life so much on a day-to-day level. So being witness to myself with love and compassion is what I feel the cacao's helped me to do. And, you know, let's go back to the fact that any baby who's breastfed gets a tremendous amount of comfort from the breast milk, not just the nutrition. And I feel that very similarly the breast milk does all the kind of stimulating in the brain of the dopamine receptors and everything else that could be argued is not good about good quality raw cacao. I think everybody needs to follow their own path, and if you're called towards this, if it you know, like you said, we started to talk about it and you were getting all excited and buzzy and it sort of felt like you were interested. Other people are just not going to be interested from the start, and that's okay, that's fine. For me, it's very helpful. For as long as it's around, I want to share it. And yeah, I just think that it's time we all start to wake up, and I think that it is the tool to really support people. It's something that can really help us to wake up and move out of that state of knowing somehow that things could be different, but not actually doing anything about it, and actually doing something. So for me, my cacao is almost like my daily meditation, and it enhances the meditation and the yoga. But that's after I've had a cup of hot water and a whole lemon first, because that's my cleansing first in the morning, and I want to thank Mark Atwood for that one. But generally I drink lots of water, with squeezed lemon in it, and having a whole organic lemon, everything in with the water is very helpful to cleanse the system. The most important thing if you are drinking cacao daily is to drink lots of water, because it flushes everything out, just like having a spiritual healing, crystal healing, anything you do, you want to flush all the toxins out, otherwise things get sort of lifted vibrationally and then they stick again. So you want the water to flush it out. But we could all do with more water, so that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. And have you noticed a difference in your digestion?
Your
definitely. System?
I mean, one of the interesting things I've noticed is actually I can tolerate wheat a bit better, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I found I don't eat as much, I'm feeling quite full anyway. Definitely, like even menstrual time, not craving chocolate the way I used to. It'd be like a 10-day period that I would just eat as much chocolate. Didn't matter whether it was organic or fair trade or anything. Those 10 days, it was just get it all in. And it's just not happening anymore. So the choices in my diet have I've always eaten well, but actually really, truly sort of wanting to drink the water, not wanting to drink tea, not wanting to drink coffee, just wanting to eat well and to nurture, and sleeping a lot, which is what I need right now as well. It's been really, really helpful.
And what about you? Do you get any premenstrual symptoms, or
No.
has that been different? Or
I haven't had premenstrual symptoms for many years because I find that the yoga is really, really helpful. And I actually do have to say that I don't notice my period coming at all these days. Not before. I used to get like a lot of breast swelling and tenderness, but the last 2-3 months I've noticed even that's not. I just don't know I'm getting it.
Right.
It's very, very subtle, and I don't even get really that sort of dragging feeling anymore. So I think actually for menstrual stuff it's really, really helpful. And even for fertility stuff, because for couples who are trying to have a baby, there's nothing worse than trying to have a baby, to kill the joy out of making love and being intimate. And often the block can be that certain emotions aren't being expressed to each other. Often it can be that we have a feeling of being undeserving, that actually I'm not good enough to be a mum or a dad because of X, Y or Z. And I think the cacao really helps you to sort of talk to each other, to develop intimacy, not just sexual intimacy, but that sort of connectedness again of being a unit. And then dealing with the stuff